Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world obsessed with weakness, and what's one of the biggest signs of weakness? Apologizing. Society feeds you this lie: apologize to make things right. But does it really make things right? Does saying sorry fix the damage? Does it restore what was lost? No, it just leaves you feeling smaller and more defeated. Let me tell you something: apologies aren't always the path to redemption. Sometimes they're just a quick fix, a temporary bandage over a wound that runs deeper than words can heal. Think about it. You say sorry, they say it's okay, and then what? You move on, pretending the hurt never happened, but it did. The silence between the apology and the truth is where the real damage happens. So why should you apologize? Maybe you should never apologize. Not for standing your ground, not for being who you are, not for having a purpose that disrupts the comfort zone of others. Some of you will be told you need to apologize for daring to take risks, for saying things that cut through the facade. But the truth is, this apologizing weakens you. It bends you in a direction that isn't true to who you are. Apologize for mistakes. Apologize for hurting others unintentionally. Apologize when you know you've done something wrong. But don't apologize for existing with strength, for being bold, for making people uncomfortable with your vision. Those who demand apologies from you want you to stay small. They want you to stay silent. They want to keep you in a box where they can control you. If your apology doesn't come from a place of true remorse, if it comes from the need to please others or fit their image of who you should be, then you're simply handing over your power. You're trading your sovereignty for a fleeting moment of peace. But in reality, it's a surrender that costs you. So ask yourself, why should I apologize? Is it to make someone else feel better at the expense of your integrity? Or is it because you truly believe you've harmed someone and are ready to face the consequences? The answer will tell you where you stand. In the end, apologizing doesn't fix everything. Sometimes it just makes you forget the lessons you were meant to learn. Be careful with your apologies. They might just be the chains that keep you locked in a version of yourself that isn't real. If you're going to apologize, let it be for something that matters, not because someone tried to make you feel bad for being unapologetically you. If you're going to rise with no regrets. Don't apologize for your ambition, your strength, or your journey. Apologize only when it's true to your heart, not when it's just to quiet the noise of others. Be relentless, be unyielding, and never ever apologize for being the force that you are. Apologies don't always fix things. We live in a world where apologizing has become an automatic response to many of our interactions. Someone gets upset and the first instinct is to apologize. You did something wrong, or at least it's perceived that way, and you feel compelled to offer an apology. Society has made apologies a form of damage control. But the harsh reality is that apologizing doesn't always fix things. In fact, it can sometimes make matters worse, perpetuating the cycle of superficial peace while leaving the deeper issues unaddressed. Think about the nature of an apology for a moment. What does it truly do? On the surface, it acknowledges that something has gone wrong. It's a way of expressing regret, taking responsibility, and seeking reconciliation. But is it really enough? Is saying sorry enough to repair the emotional damage caused by actions, words, or events that can't be undone? Does the mere act of apologizing remove the lingering feelings of betrayal, hurt, or resentment? More often than not, the answer is no. The problem lies in how we view apologies. We've been conditioned to believe that a simple apology can smooth over everything, that it's the magical remedy to undo any harm. But the truth is, apologizing is not a cure-all. It doesn't change the past, and it certainly doesn't guarantee that the person who was wronged will feel better, heal, or forget what happened. We tend to place too much weight on the idea that an apology should somehow make everything okay, but in doing so, we overlook the reality that some wounds are too deep, too significant, and too painful to be healed with mere words. In many cases, the act of apologizing can even feel hollow, as if you're simply trying to cover up the damage rather than confronting it head-on. An apology becomes just a quick fix, a way to make things go back to normal, but what is normal? Really mean in situations of hurt, betrayal, or trauma. Normal doesn't erase the pain, it doesn't eliminate the mistrust that might have developed, nor does it heal the rift that was created between two people or groups. An apology in this case may not be enough to rebuild the trust that was broken or to restore the relationship to its former state. It might not even serve to show the person who was hurt that you truly understand the depth of their pain. One of the core reasons why apologies don't always work is because they often come too easily. When we apologize without fully understanding the consequences of our actions, it becomes just a formality. It's a way of doing what we're supposed to do, not necessarily a way of truly reflecting on what happened or the impact it had. Apologies, when they're not sincere or deeply thought through, can come across as insincere, as if you're simply trying to get the other person to forgive you so you can move on with your life. But when the other person is still holding on to their hurt, your apology may feel like nothing more than a surface-level gesture. It doesn't address the underlying issues, the unresolved feelings, or the broader context of what occurred.
Furthermore, apologizing can sometimes be a form of deflection. Instead of confronting the real issues at hand, people often apologize as a way to avoid uncomfortable conversations or difficult emotions.
They think that if they say sorry, they can move past the situation without having to dig deeper into the emotions, motivations, or circumstances that led to the problem. However, this approach only delays the inevitable confrontation with the root cause of the conflict. The problem remains unresolved, and the apology serves only to temporarily mask it, leaving both parties with a false sense of closure. What's even more dangerous is that apologies can sometimes enable unhealthy patterns. When you apologize without truly addressing the underlying problem, you risk reinforcing the same behavior that led to the issue in the first place. Instead of making a genuine effort to change, an apology becomes a tool for avoiding responsibility. In this scenario, the apology doesn't actually create accountability or encourage growth. It's just an empty gesture that perpetuates the cycle of hurt and misunderstanding.
There's also the issue of apologizing too frequently. Some individuals feel the need to apologize for every little thing they do, even if it's something trivial or insignificant. This tendency to over-apologize often stems from insecurity or fear of conflict.
When you apologize constantly, you weaken your own position, and over time, the value of your apologies diminishes. If you're always saying sorry, the word loses its meaning, and people stop taking it seriously. It becomes a routine rather than a genuine expression of remorse, further eroding trust and causing others to doubt your sincerity. At the same time, there are those who never apologize at all, refusing to acknowledge any wrongdoing or the harm they've caused. They believe that admitting fault is a sign of weakness, and instead they deflect or deny responsibility for their actions. This approach can be equally damaging as it denies the other person the closure and validation they need to heal. But even in these cases, simply receiving an apology might not be enough to restore the relationship, especially if the apology comes with no intention of change. Apologizing doesn't automatically fix everything. In fact, sometimes the damage is too deep for an apology to heal. Trust, for example, is something that takes years to build and can be shattered in an instant. When trust is broken, no amount of apologizing can immediately repair it. Trust must be rebuilt over time through consistent actions that demonstrate reliability, integrity, and respect. Apologizing might be the first step in this process, but it's not enough on its own. It's a long road ahead, and it requires more than just words. It requires a commitment to change, to understanding the other person's perspective, and to doing the necessary work to rebuild what was lost. The same can be said for any relationship, whether personal or professional. Apologies can be the beginning of the healing process, but they're not the end. Acknowledging the harm done and taking responsibility for it is important, but it's only one part of the equation. What matters more is the actions that follow the apology. Are you willing to make the changes necessary to avoid repeating the same mistakes? Are you committed to proving that your words match your behavior? This is where true healing happens, not in the apology itself, but in the transformation that follows. At the end of the day, an apology is not a magic fix. It's just a step in the process. It may ease the immediate tension, it may help to temporarily clear the air, but it doesn't automatically erase the consequences of your actions. The hurt may still linger. The trust may still be broken. The relationship may still need time and effort to heal. So before you apologize, ask yourself if your apology is truly necessary, if it's coming from a place of genuine remorse, if you're prepared to back it up with meaningful action. If you find yourself in a position where you've wronged someone, take the time to reflect deeply on the situation. Don't just apologize to get it over with. Apologize because you understand the impact of your actions and are willing to do the work required to make amends. And remember that, in some cases, an apology may not be enough. Healing may take time, and rebuilding trust may require more than just words. Apologies can open the door to healing, but they don't always walk you through it. The real work happens after the apology, in the actions you take to prove that you are truly sorry, that you've learned, and that you are committed to being better. The truth is, apologies don't always fix things. They can't erase the past, and they can't heal every wound. They may be a starting point, but they're not the final solution. True reconciliation requires more than just words. It requires a deep understanding of the harm done, a commitment to change, and a willingness to rebuild what was broken. Apologies alone will never fix everything, and it's time we stop relying on them as a quick fix for our mistakes. Real healing takes time, effort, and a genuine desire to make things right. There's something deeply ingrained in society about the power of an apology. We've been conditioned to believe that apologizing is a sign of maturity, growth, and moral responsibility. In almost every situation where something goes wrong, the first suggestion is often to apologize. People are told that they must swallow their pride and admit when they're wrong, as though an apology is some magical balm that heals every wound. But there is a dark side to this process. Constant apologizing can do far more harm than good, and in many cases it weakens you. It chips away at your confidence, undermines your value, and ultimately disempowers you. Let's start with the root of why we apologize. Most of us apologize because we want to avoid conflict or pain. We've been conditioned to believe that peace is paramount, that it's better to apologize, whether you believe you were wrong or not, just to move past uncomfortable situations. Apologies become a tool for appeasing others, for avoiding uncomfortable feelings or tensions. And while in some circumstances an apology might be warranted and necessary, when used frequently or without genuine remorse, it becomes nothing more than a defensive mechanism, a shield you put up to protect yourself from facing the uncomfortable truth that not everything in life can be fixed by words alone. The first problem with this habitual apologizing is that it erodes your sense of self-worth. Every time you say, "I'm sorry," you're subconsciously telling yourself that you are inadequate, that you are the one responsible for making things right, that you are the one who should shoulder the blame. The more you apologize, the more you diminish your own power. The act of constantly saying sorry reinforces the belief that your own feelings and needs are secondary, that you are obligated to make everyone else around you feel comfortable at the expense of your own comfortable. Over time, this self-sacrificing behavior takes its toll on your self-esteem as you begin to believe that your value is determined by how often you concede to the wishes and desires of others. This cycle of weakness begins to seep into every aspect of your life. You become so accustomed to apologizing for even the smallest missteps that you lose track of when it's truly necessary to offer an apology and when it's simply an act of self-subjugation. You begin to apologize for things that are not your fault, for things you have no control over, and for situations that others should take responsibility for. This constant self-abasement becomes a crutch, a way of sidestepping the discomfort that comes from standing firm in your beliefs, your choices, or your actions. As a result, you stop standing up for yourself, you stop owning your decisions, and you start living in a perpetual state of self-doubt. The second danger of apologizing too frequently is that it weakens your boundaries. Boundaries are essential for maintaining a healthy sense of self. They define who you are, what you tolerate, and what you stand for. But when you apologize too often, you start to sacrifice those boundaries. You apologize for things that should never require an apology, effectively telling others that their needs or expectations are more important than your own. You teach people that they can walk all over you, that they can impose their will on you without fear of consequence. Over time, your boundaries become blurry, and you lose the ability to say no or to assert yourself when something doesn't feel right. It's important to note that apologizing doesn't always come from a place of genuine remorse. Sometimes people apologize because they feel pressured to do so, or because they fear the repercussions of not apologizing. But in these cases, the apology is empty. It's a mere formality, a way to avoid discomfort rather than a true reflection of regret or responsibility. And when you apologize for things you don't believe you did wrong or for things that others should be accountable for, you reinforce unhealthy dynamics. You allow others to believe that they are entitled to your apology, to your time, and to your emotional labor without ever having to reciprocate. This creates an imbalanced power dynamic where you are constantly yielding and others take advantage of your willingness to submit. When you apologize excessively, you also undermine your own authority. Whether in personal relationships or professional settings, people begin to perceive you as weak, as someone who is easily manipulated or pushed around. They come to expect apologies from you, regardless of whether you've done anything wrong. You become the person who always takes the blame, the person who is always expected to apologize, and as a result, your position, your authority in any given situation diminishes. People stop respecting you because they know you will give in. They know you will apologize even if the fault does not lie with you. Apologies, when used indiscriminately, allow others to feel entitled to your energy, your time, and your emotional labor, but they don't give you anything in return. There's also the issue of how apologizing can perpetuate a cycle of internal conflict. Every time you apologize without truly believing you are wrong, you create a disconnect within yourself. You say something you don't feel, and in doing so, you start to doubt your own judgment. You suppress your truth to appease someone else. And this leads to confusion and frustration. Your mind becomes a battlefield where your genuine feelings are at odds with a false narrative you create when you apologize to keep the peace. Over time, this internal conflict can erode your mental clarity and your ability to make decisions with confidence. You become afraid of standing firm in your truth, afraid of being perceived as too harsh or too stubborn. And so you continue to apologize, even when you don't believe it's necessary. This only deepens the wound of self-doubt and weakens your ability to trust your instincts. What's worse is that constantly apologizing sets a dangerous precedent for others. When you apologize excessively, you train people to expect it from you. You set the bar low, allowing others to disrespect your boundaries, manipulate your emotions, and take advantage of your goodwill. This dynamic becomes a pattern, and it's difficult to break free from. The more you apologize, the more others come to expect it from you, and soon you find yourself in a relationship or a situation where you are always the one giving, always the one sacrificing, always the one trying to keep the peace. This not only weakens your sense of self, but also weakens the relationship itself as it becomes one-sided and unbalanced. There's another aspect to consider when it comes to apologizing: the impact it has on your personal growth. When you apologize without first reflecting on the situation and taking time to understand your own role in it, you miss an opportunity for self-improvement. Apologizing becomes a shortcut, a way to avoid taking a deeper look at the dynamics at play and at your own behavior. Instead of learning from the situation, you rush to make it go away with an apology. This prevents you from growing, evolving, and developing a stronger sense of self. True growth comes from facing difficult situations head-on, understanding your emotions, learning from your mistakes, and then taking deliberate action to do better next time. But if you keep apologizing as a way to avoid discomfort, you miss out on that opportunity. The act of apologizing can also be emotionally draining. Every time you apologize for something you're not truly sorry for, you give away a piece of yourself. You expend emotional energy that could be used for healing, growth, or asserting your boundaries. Instead, you're stuck in a cycle of self-effacement, where you constantly put others' needs ahead of your own. Over time, this emotional depletion can lead to burnout, resentment, and feelings of emptiness. The more you apologize, the more you give away your energy without receiving anything in return. This dynamic is unhealthy and unsustainable. Ultimately, the constant need to apologize weakens your inner strength. It teaches you that you are not enough, that your truth is not valid, and that it's better to give in than to stand firm. It compromises your boundaries, your authority, and your sense of self-worth. It keeps you locked in a pattern of self-doubt, confusion and emotional depletion. Apologies, when given without genuine remorse, do not heal the situation, they just mask the underlying issues. If you continue to apologize without addressing the deeper problems, you are not only weakening yourself, but also the relationships and situations you find yourself in. Apologizing is only powerful when it comes from a place of true responsibility, not as a means of avoidance or appeasement. If you want to reclaim your power, stop apologizing for things that don't require an apology and start owning your truth. Only then can you stop weakening yourself and begin to build a stronger, more resilient version of who you are. In a world that often encourages self-doubt and second-guessing, many of us fall into the trap of apologizing for our very existence. We apologize for taking up space, for having opinions, for needing things, and for expressing our emotions. We've been conditioned to believe that being ourselves, our true, authentic selves, requires justification. But in reality, we should never apologize for existing. It is our mistakes that deserve an apology, not our mere presence. Apologizing for existing weakens our sense of self, fosters insecurity, and creates unnecessary barriers between us and the world around us. When we constantly apologize for existing, we are essentially telling ourselves that we are not enough, that we do not deserve to take up space, to be heard, to have needs, or to be seen. This behavior is ingrained in us from a young age. We are often taught to be quiet, to be small, to fit in, and to avoid being a burden on others. In some cultures, children are told not to speak unless spoken to, not to draw attention to themselves, not to take up too much space in a room. These subtle messages plant the seeds of insecurity that grow into full-blown self-doubt as we age. We learn to shrink in order to avoid disapproval, in order to conform to societal expectations, and in the process we lose sight of who we truly are. Apologizing for our existence reflects a deep-rooted belief that we are somehow not worthy of occupying space in the world. This belief is often perpetuated by negative experiences or toxic relationships. We've all encountered people who make us feel as though we are too much, too loud, too opinionated, too emotional, too needy. These individuals project their insecurities onto us, making us feel as though we are the problem. Over time, we internalize their judgments, and we begin to apologize for being ourselves. We begin to shrink ourselves down, to suppress our true desires and needs, and to apologize for our very existence. We become fearful of taking up space, of being seen, of expressing ourselves authentically. This constant self-apology does not serve us, it only weakens us. When we apologize for our existence, we deny ourselves the opportunity to fully embrace who we are. We allow the judgments of others to dictate our self-worth, and we give away our power by constantly seeking validation. We start to believe that we are not entitled to our own space, our own voice, our own motions. We begin to prioritize the comfort of others over our own well-being, always second-guessing ourselves and wondering if we are causing inconvenience or discomfort to those around us. But the truth is, our existence is not something we should apologize for. It is a gift. Each of us brings something unique and valuable to the world. Our perspectives, our talents, our experiences, and our very presence make a difference. We are meant to take up space, to share our voices, to stand tall in our own skin. The act of existing is not something to be ashamed of, but something to celebrate. We have the right to occupy our own lives without apologizing for it. When we apologize for our existence, we are essentially saying that we are not worthy of taking up space. We act as though we are a burden, as though our needs, desires, and emotions are not valid or important.
This mindset prevents us from fully experiencing life. We become trapped in a cycle of self-doubt, constantly seeking external approval, and never feeling truly at ease in our own skin. We constantly question ourselves, am I too much?
Am I bothering them? Do they like me? Am I doing this right? These questions stem from a place of insecurity and a fear of being rejected or judged. But here's the reality: our worth is not determined by the opinions of others. We do not need to apologize for our existence, for our emotions, or for our desires. We are entitled to live our lives unapologetically, to take up space, to ask for what we need, and to express ourselves freely. The world is filled with countless voices, perspectives, and experiences, and we are no less deserving of being heard than anyone else. When we stop apologizing for simply being ourselves, we begin to reclaim our power. We start to honor our worth and embrace the uniqueness that makes us who we are. There is a time and a place for apologizing, and that is when we make mistakes. Mistakes are an inevitable part of life. No one is perfect, and we all have moments where we fall short, where we hurt others, or where we fail to live up to our own expectations. Apologizing for mistakes is a necessary part of personal growth. It is a way of taking responsibility for our actions, acknowledging the impact we've had on others, and making amends where necessary. Apologizing for mistakes shows that we are capable of growth, self-reflection, and accountability. However, apologizing for existing is not the same as apologizing for mistakes. When we apologize for existing, we are undermining our own value. We are saying that we don't deserve to take up space, that we are somehow lesser, that we need to shrink to fit into the mold of what others expect us to be. But our mistakes do not define us. They are simply learning opportunities. They are the moments when we stumble, get back up, and continue on our journey. Mistakes do not diminish our worth. They are part of the process of becoming the best version of ourselves. Apologizing for mistakes is a healthy and necessary part of life, but apologizing for simply being who we are is destructive. When we stop apologizing for existing, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We allow ourselves to be fully present in our lives, to show up authentically without the burden of constantly questioning whether we are worthy of being seen or heard. We stop living in fear of judgment and rejection, and instead we live with confidence, knowing that we are enough as we are. We stop seeking validation from others because we understand that our worth is not contingent on anyone else's approval. We begin to create lives that are aligned with our true selves, free from the weight of constantly apologizing for our existence. The more we apologize for our existence, the more we reinforce the belief that we are not worthy of happiness, success, or fulfillment. We teach ourselves that our desires are not important, that our emotions are invalid, and that our needs are something to be ashamed of. This mindset keeps us stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and fear. We begin to hide parts of ourselves, to shrink away from our true potential, and to settle for lives that do not truly reflect who we are. We let the fear of being too much, too loud, or too bold hold us back from living authentically. But when we stop apologizing for existing, we start to reclaim our power. We recognize that we are deserving of love, respect, and success just as we are. We no longer apologize for our emotions, our needs, or our desires. We begin to stand tall in our truth, unapologetically pursuing the lives we want. We become unafraid to take up space, to share our thoughts, and to express our feelings. We stop seeking validation from others. because we understand that our worth is intrinsic. Our existence is enough.
It is time to stop apologizing for our existence and start apologizing for our mistakes when necessary. Apologies for mistakes show growth, responsibility, and maturity. Apologies for existing show self-doubt, insecurity, and a lack of self-worth.
We are entitled to be here, to be seen, to be heard, and to take up space. It is time to stop shrinking, stop second-guessing, and stop apologizing for simply being who we are. The world needs more people who are unafraid to be themselves, who are unapologetic in their existence, and who understand that their value is not determined by anyone else's approval. An apology is more than just a few words strung together to offer regret. It is a powerful tool that can heal, rebuild, and strengthen relationships. It holds within it the potential to shift the course of a conversation, to mend broken bridges, and to restore trust where it has been shattered. Yet, many of us misunderstand the true power of an apology. We often think of it as a weakness, an admission of guilt that exposes us to judgment. However, the power of your apology goes far beyond this limited view. It is a force that can change the dynamics of your relationships, transform your own character, and create a ripple effect of positive change in the world around you. When we make mistakes, it is natural to feel ashamed, embarrassed, or even defensive. We may be reluctant to admit our faults because doing so makes us vulnerable. It exposes our imperfections, and in a world that often values perfection and flawlessness, that vulnerability can be uncomfortable. But it is precisely this vulnerability that makes an apology so powerful. It is in the act of lowering our guard, of acknowledging that we are not perfect, that we create an opportunity for growth and healing. When we apologize, we are showing the other person that we value their feelings, that we recognize the impact of our actions on them, and that we are committed to making things right. This is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of strength and emotional maturity. An apology is not merely about the words we speak, it is about the sincerity with which we speak them. A genuine apology comes from a place of deep understanding and remorse. It is not about simply checking off a box or doing what we think we should do. It is about taking responsibility for our actions, owning our mistakes, and demonstrating empathy for the person we have hurt. A true apology requires self-awareness and humility, and acknowledges the emotional toll our behavior has taken on others. When we apologize with sincerity, we show the other person that we are truly invested in repairing the relationship and rebuilding the trust that may have been lost. This can be an incredibly powerful act, capable of transforming even the most fractured relationships. At its core, an apology is a bridge between two people. It creates a pathway for reconciliation, for mutual understanding, and for healing. When we apologize, we offer the other person the opportunity to share their feelings, to express their hurt, and to process the emotions that may have been triggered by our actions. An apology creates space for dialogue, for the exchange of perspectives, and for the restoration of emotional balance. It is a recognition that relationships are not one-sided, that both parties contribute to the dynamics of the relationship, and that it is through mutual understanding and effort that we can restore harmony. The power of an apology also lies in its ability to bring closure to a situation. When we have wronged someone, it can leave a lingering sense of unfinished business, a tension that festers over time. This unaddressed conflict can weigh heavily on both parties, creating resentment, frustration, and emotional distance. An apology provides the means to close that chapter, to acknowledge the harm that was caused, and to begin the process of healing. It allows both people to move forward, free from the emotional burden of unspoken words and unresolved issues. In this way, an apology has the power to release both parties from the grip of negative emotions and to create a new beginning. While the power of an apology is most often seen in the context of relationships with others, it also has a profound impact on our own personal growth. When we apologize, we are engaging in an act of self-reflection. We are looking inward to understand the motivations and choices that led to the situation in the first place. This introspection helps us to identify patterns of behavior that may be damaging, to recognize the areas of growth, and to cultivate greater emotional intelligence. Apologizing forces us to confront our mistakes and to take responsibility for our actions, which is a crucial step in our journey of personal development. It encourages us to be honest with ourselves, to embrace vulnerability, and to learn from our missteps. Moreover, the act of apologizing is a demonstration of integrity. It is a commitment to living in alignment with our values, to being accountable for our actions, and to maintaining respect for others. When we apologize, we are upholding our own ethical standards and demonstrating a willingness to make amends. Integrity is not about being perfect, it is about being honest, transparent, and responsible. Apologizing when we are wrong is an expression of that integrity. It shows that we are willing to take ownership of our behavior and to make the necessary changes to ensure that we do not repeat our mistakes in the future. This not only strengthens our relationships with others, but also builds our own self-respect and self-worth. In addition to its power in personal relationships, an apology can also have a profound impact in professional settings. In the workplace, mistakes are inevitable, and the way we handle those mistakes can either strengthen or weaken our professional reputation. A well-timed, sincere apology in the workplace demonstrates maturity, accountability, and a willingness to learn from errors. It shows that we are willing to take responsibility for our actions, regardless of the consequences, and that we are committed to improving. In many cases, a thoughtful apology can turn a negative situation into an opportunity for growth and collaboration. It can also foster a culture of openness and trust within teams, where individuals feel comfortable acknowledging their mistakes and working together to find solutions. One of the greatest benefits of an apology is its ability to build trust. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and once it is broken, it can feel nearly impossible to rebuild. However, an apology can be a powerful first step in the healing process. By apologizing, we are acknowledging that we understand the impact of our actions and that we are committed to restoring the trust that was lost. A genuine apology conveys that we value the other person's feelings and that we are willing to put in the effort to make things right. While trust may take time to rebuild, an apology can set the stage for that restoration. It demonstrates that we are not only aware of our mistakes, but also willing to take the necessary steps to change and to prevent similar issues from arising in the future. The power of an apology is not just about the words we say, but the energy and intention behind them. An apology can be hollow if it is not backed by genuine remorse and a commitment to change. In fact, insincere apologies can do more harm than good, as they often come across as manipulative or dismissive. On the other hand, a heartfelt, sincere apology can have a transformative effect, not only on the person receiving it, but also on one offering it. When we apologize with authenticity and humility, we demonstrate that we are capable of growth and that we value the other person enough to make things right. The act of apologizing also requires courage. It takes courage to admit that we were wrong, to face the discomfort of vulnerability, and to risk the possibility of rejection or further hurt. It takes courage to look another person in the eye and acknowledge the pain we may have caused. But it is precisely this courage that makes an apology so powerful. It is a recognition that we are human, that we make mistakes, and that we are willing to confront our flaws in order to become better versions of ourselves. Apologizing is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of strength, self-awareness, and a commitment to personal growth. In the end, the power of your apology is not just about repairing relationships, it is about repairing yourself. It is about acknowledging your mistakes, learning from them, and growing into the person you were meant to be. It is about restoring your integrity, your self-respect, and your ability to connect with others on a deeper level. Apologizing is an act of emotional intelligence, a demonstration of vulnerability, and a powerful tool for transformation. The next time you find yourself in a situation where an apology is needed, remember that it is not just a formality, it is a powerful tool that has the potential to change everything. Never apologize for your journey. Your path, your experiences, and your decisions are uniquely yours, and they are the very things that shape you into who you are. We often find ourselves at a crossroads where the opinions of others, the judgments of society, or the expectations of family and friends make us feel as though we must justify the choices we've made. Society tells us how we should live, how we should succeed, and how our lives should unfold. But the truth is, your journey is yours and yours alone. There is no need to apologize for it, no matter how unconventional or misunderstood it may seem to others. Every step you've taken, every mistake you've made, and every victory you've celebrated is a vital part of your personal growth and evolution. The reality is, most people have a tendency to criticize what they do not understand. When your path doesn't fit into the narrow boxes that society has set out for you, others may try to make you feel like you need to conform to their expectations. They might question your choices, your lifestyle, or even your dreams, and in those moments it can feel as if you have to apologize for being different. But why should you apologize for living authentically? Why should you apologize for following the rhythm of your own heart when it leads you in a direction others cannot fathom? The truth is, every person's journey is deeply personal, and it is precisely the differences in our paths that make us unique and special. Throughout history, those who have made significant contributions to the world were not the ones who followed the standard blueprint for success. They were the ones who dared to venture off the beaten path, to explore uncharted territories, and to pursue what they truly believed in. The pioneers, the innovators, the creators, and the visionaries have all faced criticism for their nonconformity. Yet it was this very defiance of the conventional that allowed them to create something new, something better. They didn't apologize for their journey. They didn't apologize for choosing a path that others couldn't understand. Instead, they embraced their journey with courage, persistence, and passion. It's easy to forget that life is not a straight line, but rather a series of winding roads and unexpected detours. The notion of a perfect or ideal life is a myth. There is no universal path to success, happiness, or fulfillment. Every person's journey is shaped by their own unique set of circumstances, choices, and challenges. There are those who climb the corporate ladder, those who travel the world in search of adventure, and those who find fulfillment in the quiet moments of solitude. None of these journeys are less valid than the other. What matters is that you honor your own path and don't let the judgments of others cause you to question it. The moments of failure, the times when you felt lost or unsure, and the days when nothing seemed to go right, those are the moments that build your character, that teach you lessons, and that prepare you for something greater. Without those moments, you wouldn't be who you are today. So why apologize for them? There is also something deeply powerful in owning your mistakes. We are often conditioned to think that we must always succeed, that failure is something to be ashamed of. But failure is not the end of the road, it is simply a detour, a lesson, and an opportunity to grow. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has encountered failure. It's part of the process. And it's okay to stumble along the way. What matters is that you continue moving forward, that you learn from those experiences, and that you never give up on your journey. When you apologize for your journey, when you apologize for your mistakes or your setbacks, you are undermining the very lessons that those experiences taught you. You are diminishing your own resilience and strength. Never apologize for the times you stumbled, for the moments you fell short, or for the mistakes you made. They are the building blocks of your growth. They are the things that will give you the wisdom and the strength to navigate the challenges ahead. In this world, it's easy to compare ourselves to others, to look at someone else's life and wonder why our own doesn't measure up. But comparison is a trap. It will make you feel inadequate, insecure, and unworthy. Your journey is yours and no one else's. The person next to you may have a different timeline, a different path, or a different set of circumstances, but that doesn't mean your journey is any less valuable or meaningful. The pressure to live up to someone else's standards, to meet someone else's expectations, or to follow someone else's vision of success will only rob you of the joy that comes from living life on your own terms. The moment you stop comparing yourself to others is the moment you begin to truly embrace your own journey. And when you fully embrace your path, you stop feeling the need to apologize for it. You stop feeling the need to explain yourself. Society often equates success with material achievements, money, status, titles, and possessions. But success is not defined by these outward markers. True success comes from living in alignment with your own values and passions. It comes from having the courage to pursue what sets your soul on fire, even if that means taking risks or defying the expectations of others. It comes from having the strength to walk your own path, even when it seems uncertain or difficult. When you measure your success by your own standards, by the things that truly matter to you, you no longer need to apologize for your journey. You begin to see the value in every step you take, every decision you make, and every challenge you overcome. There will always be those who try to impose their views on you, to tell you how you should live, what you should do, and what you should prioritize. But it's important to remember that their perspective is not your reality. They may not understand your dreams, your struggles, or your goals, but that doesn't mean you need to justify them. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the way you choose to live your life. Your journey is yours to define, not theirs. The path you take may not be the easiest or the most conventional, but it is your path, and it is worth every moment of effort and every ounce of courage you put into it. The fear of judgment is one of the most paralyzing forces in our lives. We worry about what others think, what they will say, and whether they will approve of our choices. But if we spend our lives apologizing for the way we live, for the choices we make, or for the mistakes we've made, we will never truly be free. Freedom comes from releasing the need for external validation. from embracing the fact that your journey is yours and yours and yours alone, and from recognizing that you are enough as you are. You don't need anyone's permission to live your truth, to chase your dreams, or to follow the path that calls you. The power lies in your ability to stay true to yourself, even when the world around you is trying to pull you in a different direction. Never apologize for the pace at which you move. Some people take their time, others race ahead. But there is no right or wrong speed when it comes to your journey. Life unfolds at its own pace, and it's important to honor your own timeline. It's okay to move slowly, to take breaks, to pause and reflect. The journey is not about the destination, it's about the growth, the lessons, and the transformation that happens along the way. Whether you are moving at a fast pace or a slow one, what matters is that you are moving in the direction that is true to you. So never apologize for how fast or slow you are going. What matters is that you are going at your own pace and that you are moving forward in a way that feels right for you. Your journey is the ultimate expression of who you are. It is a reflection of your values, your passions, your purpose, and your purpose. No one else's opinion can diminish its worth. You don't need to apologize for your journey. You need to embrace it fully, unapologetically, and with gratitude. Your path, with all its twists, turns, and challenges, is what makes you who you are. Never apologize for it. Embrace it, celebrate it, and know that it is exactly what you need to create the life you were meant to live.